In order to keep the pole position in the world of full tower PC cases, as well as meet the demands of our high-end enthusiast fans, it was about time to upgrade the Darkbase Pro 900. The new generation, called Darkbase Pro 900 Rev 2, is available now, and I'm going to build a system with it and show you all the new features it has in store. Let's go! The Darkbase Pro 900 Rev 2 is available in 3 color options: black, orange and silver. Also, the older model Darkbase 900, the one without the glass window, is still available. But this one hasn't received an upgrade, has got a simpler fan control, no Qi charger and no LEDs. But it's lower priced, of course. The biggest new feature this new generation has to offer is plain to see the PSU shroud, which completely covers the bottom of the case, and the HDD covers, which make up for a tidier interior. And if you remove the tempered glass window, you will immediately see that it has been shaded at the bottom and the top, as you can see here and here, which nicely covers up parts of the case framing. As our new build will be placed facing the left side of the wall, we are going to invert its interior, which is a piece of cake due to the astounding flexibility of the case. First, we are going to remove the motherboard tray, which, by the way, can now be used as a bench table. Next, we are detaching the shroud from the HDD tray, remove the PSU cover, unscrew the PSU mount, and detach the HDD tray and remove it. If you are interested in more details on how to invert your case, please watch the dedicated video we are linking to right now. What looks like a totally butchered case is actually a very comfortable way of installing hardware components such as motherboard, CPU cooler, RAM and the power supply here without being confined in any way. This way, it's really easy to install a power supply in its mount, connect the cables and put the whole package into place. Next on the agenda is the HDD tray, which can be placed in 2 ways, depending on whether you want to install a radiator in the front or need more space next to the motherboard. In this case, we choose the latter. By the way, the PSU shroud lets you remove its upper covers so that you can install an additional fan there. Also, you can place another SSD up on the shroud, which will be in full view thanks to the tempered glass window. Of course, the Darkbase Pro 900 Rev 2 is fully compatible with all common mainboard sizes like E80X, ATX and XL80X. If you mounted the mainboard on the tray, you can comfortably install the CPU, the RAM modules or the air cooler. As we decided to go with the water cooling system here, we are going to install the cooler later on inside the case. That's the easier way to do that. The motherboard tray can be installed in 3 heights as well as completely inverted. Next, we are going to install the HD drives. Our new double cage has enough room for 2 of them. A third one is placed in a smaller cage above. Each cage could house 2 SSDs alternatively. Also, the cages can be configured in 7 different positions. And if you don't use all of them, you can cover these holes with our slot covers, which double as useful tools for perfect cable management. One of our SSDs is already seated on the PSU shroud. Another one will be placed on the back side of the motherboard tray. Never forget, the SSD is placed on the outside of its case, not the inside. And the generous space in our flagship case leaves nothing to be desired. The case offers enough room for all building requirements, including several graphics cards and a water cooling system. In this case, our trusty Silent Loop 360mm, which is never going to suffer from claustrophobia. Due to our very sophisticated interior layout, our very powerful system with an i7-7820X CPU and a GTX 1080 graphics card can be cranked up to 11 as every possible overclocking and water cooling requirement can be met. And the massive amount of space as well as the noise absorbing outlets guarantee an excellent airflow. Now it's time for some illumination. The LED strips lead us to another one of Rev 2's improved features. The LEDs are now 12 volts compatible and can be controlled from as well as synchronized with the motherboard. If you are not interested in that, you can also simply switch their 6 default colors by using the button on top of the case. The LED system can be expanded with additional strips as well as directly from the controller. The fan control has also been upgraded. Now you can connect up to 8 PWM fans there and have them run in 2 different modes, silence or performance, due to the separated rails. We choose to run 2 near inaudible 140mm Silentwings 3 fans in performance mode in front and the one in the back in silence, as we have the 3 fans on top of the radiator as additional outlets. Instead of a third fan, we are going to install a Blu-ray drive in the front so that we can use the PC as a full-fledged media system. And the final part now is the cable management. Our final improvement, and with that our final build highlight, is the all-new I/O panel in the front, which offers a USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C port. And as you copy movie after movie in a few seconds in the future, you can simultaneously charge your smartphone wirelessly with the integrated Qi charger on the top. The new I/O panel can also be used to speedily charge your favorite electronic devices due to the 3 ampere quick charging option in the front. Fully modular, fully flexible, the Darkbase Pro 900 Rev 2 really leaves nothing to be desired. There's a reason why our campaign slogan is "A million computers are waiting to be built", and hopefully one of them will be yours. Thanks for watching and stay quiet.
Hey guys, I'm Tony with Thermaltake, and I'm really excited to talk to you about the brand new Core P3. Wait, this is... Guys, is this? I thought it was the other. Weren't we doing the other case today?
It's not this one, right? Like,
this is. I mean, we've had this for a good bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is my favorite case, but like, oh, hey, there it is, the brand new Core P3 Pro. I'm really excited to check things out. There's a whole lot of cool new features, so let's see how it helps you build like a pro. All right, well, just to start things off, I want to say the Core P3 has always been one of my favorite cases personally. So at a glance, one of the nice things to see, the feet have been redesigned to bring it further in line with the Core series like the P6 and the P8. I really like what it's done with the case. Next to that, we also have our brand new recessed radiator tray. It's able to accommodate up to a 420mm radiator for both custom liquid cooling builds and AIOs. And then following that, we have the additional front fan bracket, which doesn't actually only work for the front. You can move it up top as well. That's just what I love about the Pro. There's so many cool things, tons of options. I'm really excited to get started building with this.
okay guys, for today's build, we'll be using our Pacific Series 420mm radiator and DP100 distro plate, as well as our Snow Series tough fans and tough power. Then finally our blue and white C-Pro fittings just to complement the build and bring it all together. So before we can get started, let's go ahead and prep the case. First, we're going to need to remove that tempered glass panel, but hey, don't worry buddy, you'll be back soon. Now moving over to the back of the case, we can see a couple of design changes brought over from the P6, such as captive thumb screws, as well as the ability for the back panel to just lift straight off instead of sliding to the side. And then here we can get a shot of a couple of the design changes made to the back and the front of the case. Alright, so moving the case aside, let's get our W7 mounted up to our motherboard. We're going to begin by applying some TG30 thermal paste. And then make sure to remove the protective sticker from our water block before mounting it onto the board. After of which, they both should be ready to be moved into their brand new home. Okay, now that our motherboard's in, we're going to go ahead and mount up our power supply. And yeah, I know, anyone that's built in a P3 with a vertical configuration before is probably telling me, stop, don't keep going, but don't worry, we'll get to that in just a second. But from here, we're going to go ahead and put the case back aside, and let's get these tough fans mounted up. Now, one thing I really liked about the P3 Pro is I've always been personally partial to 140mm fans, and the Pro being able to accommodate up to a 420mm radiator is just an awesome improvement. I really like the aesthetic of the large fans, so I'm really happy about that. Alright, here we're also going to make sure that we get our stop plugs mounted on the right side. Don't want to have to go back and do that later. And then from here, this is a feature I really liked about our new recessed radiator tray is not only was it super easy to install the radiator, but there's also a few dedicated cable routing and mounting locations, which just made hiding the cable super simple. And speaking of cables, let's go ahead and just take care of our front panel cables, which are conveniently routed above the radiator, just for ease of connection and simplified cable management. This should help to give us a cleaner look overall. Now, let's go ahead and get our distro plate mounted up as well. From here, I really like this front bracket because it provides options, lots of options. It can accept fans, radiators to match with those fans, and even distro plates like we're using here, which just makes it perfect for any build, whether it's LCS, AIO, or even air. Now with our distro plate installed, let's go ahead and get our GPU set up vertically. This is with our new dual type mounting bracket. On top of accepting both standard and 90-degree riser cables, we've also improved the ease of access for this guy. Instead of having to remove the power supply, you can now supplement it with just a couple of thumb screws up top. Alright guys, now that we have all of our components in the case, it's time to go ahead and plan out some of our tube runs. And you know, this is where the Pro really came to shine. The open frame design, it's very forgiving. It gives us a lot of options. It works great for pre-planning, checking bends, possible configurations. And like I said before, those kind of things are really nice. It allows you to change up things on the fly or adjust components so that you really get that layout that you want. And don't worry, we're gonna get an example of that right now. Getting straight into things, we're all set up to start with bending some tubes. So what we're going to do first is just roughly check to see where our first bends need to go. And from here, we can actually see that since there's no top or rear panel for the case, it's really easy to check the fitment for your build. I mean, this allowed me to start off with just pre-bending some tubes into simple 90s, 180s, and then adding in additional cuts and bends as I needed. And that actually made the build really fun because I was able to see if there was a place where I wanted to keep something very simple or add in a lot of extra bends or complexity. And that's why I really like the P3 Pro, because it helps cater to different skill levels and adjust for what you want to do. But hey, that's enough of me talking. I'll let you guys enjoy some bends. So now that we're mostly done with our tube runs, we can get started on the last of the cable management. Now, I usually wait till the end to finish up my cable management just because this allows me to add in anything else that we maybe forgot, or also to ensure that anything that needs to be connected is already installed and good to go. Now, speaking of cable management, if the original P3 wasn't easy enough already, the Pro really takes things to the next level with additional cable management tie-down points and grommet openings, just giving us a cleaner look not only for the cables in the front, but for the cables in the back as well. And me, myself, I personally love this peace of mind, just knowing that should I ever need to remove the back panel, everything's easy to access, out of the way, and it looks amazing. Hey, go ahead and show off. Alright, now that we have all of our cables and tubes taken care of, the last thing we have left to do is to start filling the system with coolant by filling up the distro plate and then running the pump and just repeating as necessary. And once we feel like we have enough coolant in the system, I'll go ahead and begin with the process of adding in some of the blue dye, just to kind of change things up to fit with our white and blue theme that we already had going. Hey, while we're waiting for that to mix, we can go ahead and bring back our tempered glass panel, who has been patiently waiting off to the side to be reunited with the fully completed build. Go ahead and peel off that plastic film. After that, we're going to go ahead and get the post cap screwed back on, and we're all set.
Alright guys, well now that we have the system all put together, I went ahead and I actually pre-configured some of the LEDs in RGB Plus 2.0, but let's go ahead and turn it on and see how it looks. It's always one of my favorite parts. Alright guys, thanks again for joining us. It was a whole lot of fun building in the Core P3 Pro, as well as checking out a lot of the new features that distinguish it from the original. Be sure to get your hands on one soon. Also, we have a whole lot of cool new stuff coming out, so stay tuned for more.
Hi everybody, what's up? We're back in the workshop today. We just launched this guy here, the H500M, and now it's available everywhere. But it's so packed of features that I would like to run through them and maybe teach you something that you have never seen in other reviews. We're going to have a full roundup of this case. I'm going to teach you how to swap the panels and how to use the cable cover system. And this is going to be a very packed video, so I'm going to put timestamps in the description so you can just take the topic that you're most interested into. So if you're ready, let's just roll the intro and then we can start. So if we take a look at the front panel now, there is the mesh pre-installed, and the mesh is like the best option for overclockers and people who want the maximum airflow possible in their system. Of course, we have also this guy here, which is the glass plate, and let me show you how to swap them, because it's really easy. Once you remove the front panel, just place it on the table and you see 8 rubberized screws. Just take them out. Once everything is unscrewed, just lift the panel, keeping the mesh in place. Now take your mesh, replace it with the glass, put the panel back on top of it, and just screw it back. Okay, so as you can see now, our system is super clean. We can take a look at the 2 big fans, and actually, as you can see, we got 2 200mm ARGB fans. If you want to know more about ARGB and how it works and what is the difference between normal RGB and addressable RGB, just write me in the comment, because this is a very interesting topic and I think that a lot of you guys would like to learn more about it. By the way, the 2 fans are connected to a controller, and if you so desire, you can actually hook up the reset switch connector to the controller, and you can use the button in the front to change the pattern and the color of your fans. The controller is located here, behind this cable cover, and this is a very strategic position because, as you may know, with all the fan cables and all the ARGB cables, we always have a mess. So now you can use the lower part of the system to actually cable manage everything and actually achieve a very clean looking back. If you want to replicate this kind of look, all you need to do is cable manage everything, but don't spend too much time on it. Then place the first cover, and with this you can lock everything in place. Then after that you can decide if you want to place the second cover and the third one if you actually use the controller or not. We give the option, so the choice is on you. One thing though that I would like to highlight here is the new PEG system that we have introduced with this particular case. The PEG system basically allows you to mount the SSD, but in a toolless way. Before, this was the solution that we had on the old master case line. Now everything is toolless. The SSD can just sit, and with friction it can hold itself. Actually, on the H500M we have in total 6 spots where you can mount your SSDs. 2 of them are here in the back, but let me flip the case and show you the other 4 ones. So now that you can see the internal part, here we find a couple more SSD spots, and actually you can see that there is not only SSD spots on this cable cover, but we have also included some rails for water cooling. And actually here below the GPU there is an anti-sag GPU holder that you can actually remove if you don't use, so you're free to decide, even in this case. And as I said before, we got a couple more extra on the PSU shroud. Now, last but not least, the top panel. This is full tempered glass, and actually you can just remove it by unscrewing the little screw on the back. And just below it we found this very interesting fan bracket. This design allows you to have a very clean looking top, whether you're air cooling, water cooling, or you're not putting any things on top. So now, let's wrap up this video, and I'm sure that you have noticed that I used a lot of ifs during the explanation of the tech inside the H500M. And well, this is the whole point of this case. If you're using water cooling, if you're using air cooling, if you're overclocking, all this covers the modular system inside the case, the beautiful panels. Basically, they sum up in a very simple concept. We want you to be happy with the system that you have now and with the system that you will have in the future, because this case will last for a lot of time. And let's face it, a person that invests into this kind of case won't change it over time very soon. And this is why we want to support every possible upgrade. Now guys, I'm asking you a question, because I'm going to cover more cases in the future and probably the products are going to change. If you want to see more about the H500M, like, I don't know, a dedicated video to the controller or a dedicated video on how to water cool the system, let me know down here in the comments. And guys, thanks, because I know it was hard, for putting up with my Italian accent for the whole duration of this video. You guys are the best, and yeah.
Hey guys, I'm George. This is the Obsidian Series 1000D Super Tower PC case. It is the biggest and most feature-rich case Corsair has ever made. So you might ask, like, why did you guys build this ridiculously huge PC case? It's not just because it's cool, it actually has a purpose. You can actually build 2 full systems inside this case at the same time. So if you were streaming, you can game on one system and capture that video and stream it out on the other system. So in your room, you no longer need 2 full desktops. The primary motherboard tray is compatible with up to an extended ATX motherboard with 8 expansion slots. Some of those slots can be rotated so you can actually have a vertical GPU mount if you want. The secondary motherboard tray is integrated into the PSU shroud and actually includes 2 expansion slots and a mini ITX compatible mount. But don't worry, we didn't forget about you liquid cooling guys. All of our Obsidian series cases have been built with liquid cooling in mind. In front of the case, there's room for 2 480mm radiators. And on top, there's room for a 420mm radiator. In the rear, there's room for 220mm or 140mm fans and a 240mm radiator. One of my favorite features of the Obsidian Series 1000D are the slide-out radiator trays. They make it easier than ever to install fans and radiators to build up a liquid cooling system. The front and top trays come out and actually can be completely replaced. By default, they have 4 120 or 3 140s. And if that weren't enough, you can go to Corsair.com and buy new radiator trays that have 8x120, 4x120, 3x140, or even 2x200mm fan compatibility. So you can customize this thing however you want. The Obsidian Series 1000D comes with a Corsair Commander Pro, which allows full software control of cooling and lighting. Through iCUE, you can control your RGB fans, you can control the logo and the I/O panel RGB, and you can set up fan profiles. So if you want to optimize your system for quiet operation or high performance cooling operations, you can do that with a click of a button. So when you install all the motherboards and all the fans and all the systems and all the stuff that's in this case, you might be thinking, what about my cables? I have no cable routing skills at all. It's going to be a nightmare. We actually thought about that. We put these French doors on the rear of the case that allow you to conceal your cables. So no matter how bad those cable routing skills you have are, it's going to look nice and clean. And also behind those French doors are 8 SSD mounts and 5 3.5-inch mechanical drive bays. Our Obsidian series cases are known for their monolithic good looks, and the 1000D is no exception, with a tempered glass front panel and 2 huge swing-out tempered glass doors for easy access. The I/O panel has the connectivity for both systems right on the front of the case, with 4 USB 3.0 and 2 USB 3.1 Type-C connectors to go to both motherboards. The power and reset for System 1 is on top, and the power and reset for System 2 is in the back. And the I/O RGB backlighting is completely controllable through iCUE software. Dual power supply mounts, including an SFX power supply for the Mini ITX system, pre-drilled radiator and reservoir mounts just about anywhere you look, and cable routing cutouts and tie-downs all through the case. This feature list reads like a phone book, guys. Check out Corsair.com for more info.